Hi friends, it's Jasmine with the Still Earth Collection, and this is Mona the Monstera. She's a healthy, thriving plant, but she's also a little bit wild and unruly like me. I've spent the last 6 weeks establishing some healthy, robust roots on each of the nodes of this large lateral branch, with the hopes that I can get those roots ready for planting before propagation. This way, the plant experiences a little bit less shock and can likely go directly into a planting medium. Let's open these up and see how she's doing. So here we've got this large lateral branch that is growing outward in a direction that's not quite ideal for my setup, which is why I've wrapped these up with sphagnum moss. That's called air layering, and I've kept them moist and checked on them frequently to make sure they aren't, growing any kind of mold in them, and they're doing really well. We've got some healthy roots in here. So likely I will take at least 2 sections off here today, and there's a chance I take more. We'll go ahead and open them up and see how they're doing. Cool thing is I've got a light above this plant, and it's been stimulating some of the new growth to grow upward rather than outward, which is kind of what I'm going for. And when we do take sections off, we stimulate axillary buds that are a little bit higher, and those will likely start growing up as well. So kind of different things to consider when you're propagating a plant is how can we do it in a way that we are protecting it from shock and that we are giving it the nutrients that it needs. So I have been adding a little bit of fertilizer, and today I'm actually even going to add some prop drops, especially maybe even to the higher nodes that I may keep rooting for a little while longer. And that gives it nutrients that it needs, and it makes for a really healthy plant. Ideally, when you propagate, you want to have a healthy section of plant, which we have here. So let's open these up and see how they're doing. Got a tray below, so I'm just going to kind of let the moss fall off. One's got a nice root going there. It's got a little bit of side root growth. That root's kind of barely hanging on. So it's interesting because I think I'm going to see really nice roots on these 2 nodes and be a little more concerned for this one. There's a chance we end up waiting, but let's take a look here. Happy, happy, happy roots. I'm going to let some of this moss fall out. I've got a tray underneath. Just want to kind of see how they're doing. And you keep them covered like that for a long time. We do risk rot. We've got a lot of beautiful root growth here. I think what I'm going to do is just take it off from here down and hope that this little section does well, even though it's not as established, because I really want to get this section into soil. So I'm being really gentle. It's interesting how roots can kind of like intertwine into each other, and we don't want to rip them. I do take as much of the moss off as I can. I kind of want to get them married to their new medium, and I've noticed that moss hanging out inside of a compact soil environment can be kind of detrimental, although I do give this a nice chunky aroid mixture. Maybe in the comments you guys can tell me a little bit more about your propagation journeys, whether it's with the Monstera or other plants, and if you have certain techniques that you like to use or products. I will mention that I'm not sponsored by any of the products that are here. Be nice if I was, though, hint hint. But it's great to hear about what other people are using, both products and techniques, because we all have so much to learn from each other. This is a really happy little root ball section. We've got two different nodes, and some of this node's roots are wrapping up and around that node. And so it's why I'm taking the time to kind of untangle a little bit. And essentially the goal is to keep as many roots intact and not disturbed as possible, while allowing these two sections of plants to be independent, because I'd like to plant them independently. I think I'll kind of pause there. That's a good amount of moss off, and then we'll get into the cutting. So I'm going to do a cut about 1.5 inches above this node. And the reason I'm going to come so far away is, first off, I want to make sure to miss any axillary buds. And secondly, I want to give myself some space. I'm going to make sure that I keep this as clean as possible, but there is a potential for rot. And that way, if it starts to rot away, you have a little bit of room to keep cutting and preserve your node there. So what we want to do is work in kind of a teeter-totter motion here. Ideally, this is as clean of a cut as possible. And the teeter-totter helps to push through all those different fibers without bending or breaking the branch. Not the cleanest cut ever, but there we have it. So now we get a nice look at these beautiful roots. Lots of healthy new growth. Beautiful axillary bud. Eventually, once I get this baby established into soil, I will get some crazy cakey paste, which is cytokinin, and that helps to stimulate that axillary bud to promote new growth. And there we have it. 6 weeks in the making, and we've got a beautiful, healthy cutting. Next, I'm going to make a cut here so that these two root sections are separate from each other. And I did decide that I'm going to leave that root bundle together. They're happy together. I don't want to bother it too much, and so that's where I'm going to go with that. I'll put the cut kind of right in between so that each of these have a little bit of wiggle room. Clean that up again. And this is an interesting angle. Again, a little teeter-totter cut. Get a better angle there. I don't think that was the best angle, but that's all right. We've got two sections there. This one's got two nice leaves and a small but healthy root. And this one has a wild root bundle with one healthy leaf and at least one axillary bud, probably some more hiding in there somewhere. Aha, yep, right down there. Can see one hiding. So I'll keep you updated about how these cuttings do. One more thing I wanted to mention. So I talked about how I want to keep these roots moist, but we do want to let each of these ends scab off. And what that does is it prevents rot in the plant. And so I'll take these and wrap these up with saran wrap, just long enough, probably about 24 hours, to get a really good covering on there to basically compact the energy inward and prevent any bacterial growth inside of this cutting.